And good afternoon, everyone. Welcome into Madazone HD Sportsnet. It's presented to you by the JMU Alumni Association. Well, just a couple of weeks ago, we had a press conference to introduce the new head football coach at James Madison, Mike Houston, and now we are about to introduce the new athletes, the student athletes that Coach Houston and his staff has compiled here and brought together. And it has been a very short turnaround time for you, Coach, and so for the benefit of our fans and viewers out there, how did you prioritize what you needed to do as you put this class together in such a short period of time?
I don't know how much prioritizing it was. I mean, it's been a wild 2 weeks where you spent most of your evenings talking to student athletes, primarily our committed players that we had when I took the job, and I spent a lot of the day talking to coaches and interviewing coaches. Trying to put our staff together, so it was a pretty hectic about 8-9 days there right after I got the job. But I'm really excited about the class. Not only were we able to hold on to all of our commitments, but we were able to add a few outstanding players to the class to round it out at 20.
Round out 20 for the class of 2020, so it all kind of works very well there, numerically speaking, I guess. Now, one thing that did occur, of course, that before you were hired here, the Dukes did retain and brought back John Bowers, an alum, and he was working as a recruiting coordinator.
Right.
When Mr. Bourne, the athletics director, introduced that idea to you, that concept that he was still with us, can you share with us your thoughts that, okay, we've got this gentleman in place that's worked with these recruits that the previous staff worked with?
Well, first, I'm thankful that Mr. Bourne did that, because I think that was really one of the key components to us being able to keep the class together. I think that John and Jamal Powell did a great job of keeping the committed kids locked in to James Madison during the, I think, 12-day span between Coach Withers and I. And then as soon as I was hired, I spent a tremendous amount of time with them for a few days on the road seeing our recruits, and it was obvious that they had established very strong relationships with those young men. So I think a lot of credit for the class that was intact when I got hired is due to Coach Powell and Coach Bowers.
Now, how does this class, one last question from me, then we'll turn it over to
Sure.
other members of the media and a statement if you care to make. How does this class kind of blend in with, as you have reviewed, the returning players here at James Madison? How will that work out for you?
Well, I think the biggest thing is it addresses the immediate areas of need for the program. Obviously, we were returning a lot off of last year's team, but we do have some places where we were very thin, and we needed some depth, and we needed some guys to come in and ready to compete, and I think we were able to address that with this class.
All right, we'll turn it over to other members of the media here. We're at the Athletics Performance Center here at Bridge Forest Stadium for our introduction of the class of 2020 of JMU Football Dukes. Gentlemen.
Guess what jumps out 3 quarterbacks, I guess. Is that good to have that number of guys competing for that spot here?
Well, we have 1 scholarship quarterback coming back, so we'd better sign 3. So it gives us 4 scholarship quarterbacks going into next fall to compete for the starting job. One of those is a transfer in Mac Waldman, so he's not he's not a high school kid. For that first year out of high school can be a little rough at times, especially at the quarterback position. But I'll say this: all 3 are extremely talented. I expect all 3 of them to be very, very good players before they leave James Madison, and I could see any of the 3 leading our team.
Can you explain the process with Mac, getting him here? How familiar is the program with him?
He was, he had been to visit late in the fall. He was at the playoff game here at home, visiting James Madison. So did have a relationship a little bit with James Madison. And then, I was able to meet him and his parents, and we hit it off pretty good. And I think for a young man like him coming in here, he sees the kind of potential we have at the other skill positions, and also, the potential of the program. So I think he's pretty excited.
With the nature of that position, are any of those guys worried with having 3 guys and maybe the playing time goes to one guy, those other 2 are left out?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, Mac and Brian are both going to be spaced pretty good from DJ and Cole, just from an eligibility standpoint. So I think that'll take care of a lot of that. And then, DJ and Cole are both competitors. So they'll come in here and go at it, and we'll see, where they both fall. But like I said before, I could see any of these young men leading our program.
Coach, you had such a short period of time between the time you got hired and today. What was the hardest thing about retaining this class at all?
The biggest thing is just for the kids and their parents, it was the unknown. You got this guy that was introduced that you don't know a whole lot about. They knew a lot about James Madison, but they maybe didn't know me on a personal note. And so I think it was really key for me to try to get in front of them, get in front of their parents, so that they could get to know me on a personal level, my philosophies on how I operate, how we're going to run the program, how I'm going to be with their sons on a daily basis, because that's the thing. You're sending your son off to school, and you want to know who's going to take care of them. So I think it was just kind of a reassurance and getting rid of the unknown.
What do you think it says about the players who remain committed to the program even amidst a coaching change?
Well, I think it says a lot about James Madison University, and I think that anybody that walks on this campus and sees everything that James Madison is, from an educational standpoint, to the atmosphere on campus, to the commitment to excellence in athletics, I think anybody that steps on campus is impressed with James Madison and wants to be a part of James Madison. So I think that really is what it speaks to, that these young men knew that at the end of the day, even though there may be a coaching change, they wanted to be a part of James Madison and James Madison football.
You addressed in that introductory press conference some defensive needs.
Yeah.
Did you get any of those guys? Can you highlight it?
There's absolutely no doubt. I mean, I think you start up front on the defensive front, and we secured four really outstanding, explosive defensive linemen: Adib, Rondre, Mike, and Dorius. It's all of them have some different traits. Mike's a little bit smaller, but more of an edge guy. Rondre is the big, quick, explosive interior guy. Adib is a big, powerful player. Dorius is a guy with a tremendous motor. So we started with our front. You look at our linebackers, John Dhaka. First team All-State, led his team to the state championship. Just a very explosive athlete. John Kenney, I think he's the third leading all-time tackler in Hermitage history. Had 162 tackles last year. So, obviously a sideline-to-sideline player. And then Devon Medley, local product, who I was really impressed with when I watched the film, just with how he competed. And then you look at the secondary. Reggie Collins, Bryce McGinley, and Adam Smith. Reggie had been committed. Real rangy player there in the secondary. Bryce and Adam, I had been recruiting at the Citadel, so able to secure those guys there. Bryce, a big physical safety who was also the starting quarterback. So really a special talent there. And then Adam has the flexibility to play both corner and safety, so a great athlete there. But you look at the whole, and these guys are going to bring a lot, and I expect them to compete for playing time immediately.
You didn't get a chance to put a huge stamp on this recruiting class so late in the process. What challenges does that face the program, or challenge do you face moving forward with that?
Well, I think the biggest thing is we were able to put together a solid recruiting class in a transition year. This class would have been a good class if we were 5 years in and had everything rolling. This would be a solid class. So to do that in a transition year, I think that sets the program up for continued success moving forward.
How much did you use those Citadel connections, and with those kids, can you quantify that? How many kids were interested in coming to JMU?
Well, a lot, but not all of them fit JMU. But I felt like Dorius and Bryce and Adam, I thought those three really did. They had a lot of offers from other schools. I had a hard time being able to secure those guys at the Citadel, but I had great relationships with them and their parents. And so now all of a sudden when I'm here at James Madison, I was able to go back into their homes and track them up here for visits. And as soon as they saw everything I was talking about with them, how excited I was about it, it kind of sealed the deal.
How important were those couple weekends to get kids here? Just to see your face in these buildings, to get those kids here?
Well, I think the big, like I was talking about before, seeing my face kind of secured the unknown for the committed kids. you know, seeing the campus and seeing all that kind of secured everything for the players that had not visited James Madison. So obviously it was, you know, those were significant weekends.
Devon Medley, you'd already brought up the local product.
Yeah.
You mentioned you liked what you saw on the tape. What did you see on the tape about him?
A big athlete that plays very, very hard and is very, very physical at the point of contact. And then you factor that in with the fact he's an outstanding student. He's going to have his AA degree when he enrolls here this fall already. So, you know, he's just as outstanding off the field as he is on the field.
Is there any hesitancy when you recruit a local kid? I mean, I don't know what kind of experience you have with that. Is that a different challenge, having a kid nearby?
Well, I would hope it would energize the local community, you know, to have a Harrisonburg native on the roster and a chance to play. So I would hope that would help with that connection.
Offensive lineman Robert Sneed is listed as 6'6", 315. How important is it to have someone of caliber size, and what kind of impact is he going to be making on the offense this season?
Well, I think that you look at all of our offensive linemen, you got size, you got athleticism, you got explosion, you got a lot of different things there with that group, and obviously Robert being the biggest, and 315 may be an understatement. So he's a big young man, and he's really excited about James Madison football. But I think the thing that we did there is, you know, that's your offensive line of the future. You know, that's going to be a great group for Coach Powell and Coach Steinspring to work with. And I think those guys will be what will lead our program, you know, in the years to come.
I guess taking 9 kids on the offensive and defensive line, is that a lot for you guys, or are you replenishing in a sense, I guess?
Well, you're building depth and you're preparing for the future. And D linemen are kind of like Bigfoot. I mean, they're hard to find now. So if you find, you know, big kids that can play up front and have athleticism, you better snatch them up, you know, every year, you know, whether you need them or not, because they're a commodity.
I guess not a whole lot of skill kids on offense. Is that because you guys are pretty young on your current roster, or is there a reason that it worked out that way?
I think we got 8 returning scholarship wide receivers, so 4 returning scholarship running backs. So we're, you know, you've only got 63 scholarships. You've got to make sure your distribution's correct. So we just did not have room for those guys, but we're fortunate that we have a lot of experience coming back. But you know, the one we did take, Braxton Westfield right there, he's a special athlete. He has size, he has speed, has great athleticism. I think that even though we have a lot coming back in the wide receiver core, I think Braxton will push to get on the field this fall.
Is there any one player on this roster that I'm holding here that really jumps off the page that you're over the moon about?
I don't know if there's one any more than another. I think there's just a lot of them that I'm really excited about. I think one that I haven't talked about very much right now is DJ Daniels, who you look at the kind of athlete he is at the quarterback position, and I think that any offensive coordinator is going to get excited about what you can do with him. So, and I think that all set, you know, you look at taking 3 quarterbacks, they're all 3 different too. So I think that that gives us a lot of flexibility there.
Coach, you talked about seeing your face and seeing the facilities help to solidify some of this, some of the students to sign. How much of an impact did the staff that you have put together help to solidify some of those signees?
I'm sure it didn't hurt. So, I mean, everybody took notice pretty quick when we started putting the staff together. And I think that, you know, you put that along with just everything JMU brings. And I think that there's just a lot of excitement, not only with our signees. I think there's a lot of excitement with our returning players because they see the experience, they see the passion that we have in our new staff. And I think they're excited to get into spring practice. And I think these signees are very, very excited to get here and play for this group of coaches.
Do you have a set policy or a philosophy about redshirting particular positions or student athletes in general?
What I tell all the parents is we're going to do what is best for each individual. And what I mean by that is if they're ready to play and they can contribute heavily, then they'll play. If they're only going to play, you know, sparingly, then it obviously makes sense to redshirt them so that you have, you know, an older 5th-year player versus a true freshman. So we take them case by case. A lot of times that has to do with what is here already. So there may be a player that's going to be a dynamic player that may be redshirted his first year, whereas somebody else may get on the field quicker because you don't have as much depth there. So you just handle it case by case. Anything else? Well, we're certainly excited for this class, excited to get started, and now on to spring practice. Go Dukes.
Thank you very much there. That's Coach Mike Houston as he announces the recruiting class of 2020. And also, of course, season tickets are on sale now. You can go online to jmusports.com for that. And eventually, we will announce our exact date for our spring game as well. Of course, the season will open up right here at Bridgeport Stadium. Thank you for joining us here on Matazone HD Sportsnet, presented to you by the JMU Alumni Association.